The coffee had gone cold in my cup, but I didn't move to reheat it. I sat at the kitchen table, watching the second hand tick around the clock on the wall, each movement precise, mechanical, inevitable. Just like the conversation I knew was coming. My wife walked into the kitchen with that particular stride she'd adopted over the past few months, a combination of defiance and guilty anticipation. Her hair was done differently than usual, styled in loose waves that cascaded over her shoulders. She wore the blue dress I'd bought her for our anniversary 2 years ago, the one she claimed made her feel beautiful. She'd stopped wearing it for me around the same time she'd stopped looking me in the eye. "We need to talk," she said, her voice carrying that rehearsed quality of someone who'd practiced this moment in front of a mirror. I gestured to the chair across from me. "Please, sit down." She hesitated, thrown off by my calm demeanor. In her practice scenario, I was probably supposed to be oblivious, buried in my laptop or scrolling through my phone. Instead, I was sitting there, hands folded, waiting. She pulled out the chair and sat down with exaggerated casualness. "I've been thinking a lot about us lately," she began, her fingers playing with the edge of a placemat. "About what I need, what I want from life." I nodded slowly, saying nothing. The silence made her uncomfortable. I could see it in the way she shifted in her seat, in how her prepared speech seemed to evaporate under my steady gaze. "The thing is," she continued, her voice gaining false confidence, "I think we've grown apart. We're not the same people we were when we got married." "That's often true," I said evenly. "People change. Marriages evolve." She blinked, clearly not expecting agreement. "Right. Exactly. So you understand." "I understand that you're about to tell me something you think will hurt me," I replied. "Why don't you just say it?" Her jaw tightened. This wasn't going according to plan. She wanted shock, tears, maybe anger, something to justify whatever she was about to do, to paint herself as the victim of a loveless marriage rather than the architect of its destruction. "I'm going on a date," she said finally, her chin lifting with false bravado. "With someone from work. Tonight." There it was. The bomb she'd been planning to drop, designed to detonate our marriage in one spectacular moment. She watched me carefully, waiting for the explosion. I reached for the folder I'd placed on the chair beside me that morning. It was manila, unremarkable, stuffed with papers I'd spent the last 3 weeks preparing. I slid it across the table toward her with the same calm precision I'd maintained throughout this entire conversation. "Great," I said. "Then sign this." Her eyes dropped to the folder, then snapped back to my face. "What is this?" "Open it." Her hands trembled slightly as she pulled the folder toward her and flipped it open. I watched her face as she processed the first page, separation agreement. Her eyes scanned down, catching phrases like division of assets and spousal support and immediate effect. "What the hell is this?" she demanded, her voice rising an octave. "It's exactly what it looks like," I said. "You want to date other people. That's your choice. But you don't get to do it while enjoying the benefits of our marriage. So we're going to separate. Legally. Officially. Tonight. You can't be serious." She was flipping through the pages now, faster, her breathing becoming shallow. "This says you keep the house. That's my house too. Actually, if you read page 7, you'll see that the house was purchased with funds from my inheritance. My lawyer confirmed that it's considered separate property in this state. You'll also notice that the joint savings account, the one you thought you'd split 50-50, is mostly traceable to my income over the past 8 years." Her face had gone pale. "You've been planning this?" "No," I corrected. "I've been preparing for this. There's a difference. You see, I've known about your coworker for 3 months now." She opened her mouth to deny it, but I raised a hand. "Let me finish. I've known about the late-night texts you thought you deleted. The sudden need to work late on projects that didn't exist. The new lingerie that never made an appearance in our bedroom. I've known, and I've been watching our marriage die in slow motion while you worked up the courage to tell me." "If you knew, why didn't you say something?" she whispered. "Because I wanted to be sure. And I wanted to be prepared." She pushed back from the table so hard the chair scraped against the tile floor with a sound like a scream. This is insane. You can't just spring divorce papers on me because I'm going on one date. Separation papers, I corrected, my voice still maddeningly calm. And I'm not springing anything. You just announced, quite coolly I might add, that you're going on a date with another man. You're still wearing your wedding ring while telling me this. Did you think I would just, what? Wish you well? Wait at home like a good little husband while you explored your options? She crossed her arms, defensive now. People in marriages can have friendships. It's just dinner. I almost laughed. His name is David Richardson. He works in your accounting department, transferred from the Chicago office 7 months ago. Divorced, no kids, drives a leased BMW he can barely afford. You've been meeting him for coffee before work at that place on Market Street. The one you told me had the best muffins, remember? The color drained from her face. You've been following me. No. I hired someone to do that. A private investigator, actually. Very thorough woman. Her report is in that folder too, page 15 through 42 if you want to see the photos. They're quite detailed. The coffee dates. The lunch meetings that went long. That afternoon at his apartment 3 weeks ago when you told me you were at a team-building seminar. Her hand flew to her mouth. You bastard. I'm the bastard. Now I did laugh, a short, bitter sound. That's rich. But we're getting off track. The separation agreement. You need to sign it. I'm not signing anything. She grabbed the folder and hurled it across the kitchen. Papers scattered like oversized confetti, settling across the floor in a damning mosaic of our failed marriage. I didn't move, didn't react. I'd expected this. That's fine. I have copies. Multiple copies, actually. And if you don't sign voluntarily, I'll file for legal separation tomorrow morning. The difference is, if you sign tonight, we can keep this relatively quiet. If I file, it becomes public record. Your parents will know. Your friends will know. David Richardson's bosses will know, which might complicate his probationary period at the company. You wouldn't, she hissed. Try me. We stared at each other across the kitchen table, the same table where we'd shared 1,000 meals, made plans, laughed over inside jokes that no longer seemed funny. When had it become a battlefield? Why are you doing this? Her voice cracked, and I saw the first genuine emotion since this conversation started. Not remorse, exactly, but fear. We could go to counseling. We could work on this. Could we? I leaned back in my chair. Tell me honestly, when was the last time you thought of me as your husband and not as an obstacle? When was the last time you came home and actually wanted to be here, with me? She opened her mouth, then closed it. The silence stretched between us like a chasm. That's what I thought, I said. You've already left this marriage emotionally. You've been gone for months. I'm just making the physical separation match the reality. What about the car? She asked suddenly, her mind clearly racing through the implications. The agreement says you keep both vehicles. The Honda is paid off. That one's yours. The Lexus still has 2 years of payments, which I've been covering exclusively for the past 18 months since you decided to reduce your hours at work. You want the Lexus, you can assume the loan. I can't afford that payment. Then I suggest you take the Honda and be grateful it's reliable. She sank back into the chair, her earlier bravado completely evaporated. I can't believe this is happening. This morning we were fine. No, I said quietly. This morning you were planning how to tell me you were going on a date with another man. That's not fine. That's not even close to fine. This morning, I was already 3 weeks into preparing our exit strategy. We haven't been fine in half a year. So what now? Her voice was small, defeated. You expect me to just move out? You have 2 weeks to find a place. That's generous, considering. If you need help with first month's rent, I'm willing to provide a one-time payment of $3,000. After that, you're on your own. $3,000. She looked up sharply. Our savings account has $47,000 in it. Had, I corrected. I moved the majority to a separate account yesterday. Legal, by the way, my attorney confirmed it. In our state, once separation papers are signed or filed, both parties are entitled to protect their assets. The $3,000 is goodwill. Her face crumpled, and for a moment, I felt something twist in my chest. This was still the woman I'd married, the woman I'd loved. But that woman had made choices, and choices had consequences. I never meant for any of this, she whispered. Yes, you did. Maybe not consciously, but every decision you've made for months has led here. The lies. The secret meetings. You built this moment brick by brick. She looked down at the scattered papers on the floor. And if I refuse to sign? If I fight this? Then we'll do it the hard way, I said simply. And trust me, you don't want that. She bent down and started gathering the scattered papers, her movements mechanical, defeated. I watched her collect each sheet, organizing them with shaking hands back into the folder. When she finally sat back down, the folder clutched to her chest like a shield. I could see tears tracking down her carefully made-up face. How long have you known? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Really known, not just suspected. 3 months and 4 days, I said. You came home late on a Tuesday, said you'd been helping a colleague with a presentation. Your shirt was buttoned wrong. Different pattern than when you'd left that morning. Her hand unconsciously went to her collar, as if checking the buttons now. That was... I had changed because I spilled coffee. Don't. I held up a hand. Please don't insult both of us with more lies. I hired the investigator the next day. Had confirmation within a week. She set the folder down on the table, her fingers tracing the edge. Why didn't you confront me then? Because I was angry. Furious, actually. And I knew if I confronted you in that state, I'd say things I couldn't take back, make decisions driven by emotion rather than logic. I paused, remembering those early days, the rage that had consumed me, the nights I'd lain awake planning confrontations that would never happen. So I waited. I channeled everything into preparation instead of destruction. That's so cold, she said, but there was something like admiration mixed with the horror in her voice. Maybe. Or maybe it's the most loving thing I could have done. This way, we both get to walk away with something. If I'd confronted you 3 months ago, said everything I was feeling, we'd be in a much worse place now. She opened the folder again, reading more carefully this time. I could see her processing each clause, each condition, the reality of what her life was about to become settling over her like a shroud. You get the house, most of the savings, both investment accounts, and my grandmother's jewelry. She looked up, anger flashing. The jewelry was a gift to me. Given during the marriage, which makes it marital property. But I'm willing to negotiate on that. There's a list on page 23 of items I consider sentimental versus valuable. You can have the sentimental pieces. The diamond set, the one worth about $30,000, that stays with me. To sell, you mean? To give to someone who deserves it someday, maybe. Or yes, to liquidate if I need to. My choice. She flipped to page 23, scanning the list. You've thought of everything, haven't you? I tried to. My attorney was very thorough. Attorney, she repeated bitterly. Of course you have an attorney. Do I get one? You should absolutely get one. In fact, I'd recommend it. There's a clause in the agreement that gives you 48 hours to have your own legal counsel review everything before it becomes binding. I'm not trying to trick you or hide anything. I want this to be as fair as possible. Fair? She slammed the folder shut. You're taking everything. How is that fair? I'm taking what I brought into this marriage or earned during it, I corrected. The house was my inheritance. The bulk of the savings came from my salary. You can verify that with bank statements. The investments were made with bonuses from my job. You're getting the Honda, which is in your name anyway, $3,000 cash, half of the furniture you want, and your personal belongings. What am I supposed to live on? My salary barely covers. Barely covers your shopping habits, your gym membership, your weekly salon appointments, I finished. You've been living a lifestyle subsidized by my income while working part-time. That ends now. You wanted independence, to explore what you want from life? Well, independence means supporting yourself. She stared at me like I was a stranger. When did you become so ruthless? When I had to be, I said quietly. When my wife decided our marriage vows were negotiable and started building a life that didn't include me. It wasn't like that, she protested, but the words were weak. Then tell me what it was like. Explain to me how secret meetings, deleted messages, and lying about your whereabouts equals anything other than an affair. We haven't slept together. The words burst out of her like a confession, desperate and pleading. David and I, we haven't, it's not physical. Yet, I said. It wasn't physical yet. That's what tonight was supposed to be, wasn't it? The official start of something you've been building toward for months. The first real date, out in the open, where you could pretend you're single and available. She crumpled, her face falling into her hands. I just wanted to feel wanted again. Desired. Do you know how long it's been since you really looked at me? I looked at you every day, I said, and for the first time, my voice betrayed emotion. Every single day. I looked at you and wondered where you'd gone. The woman I married would have talked to me if she was unhappy, would have suggested counseling, would have fought for us. Instead, you checked out and started auditioning replacements. That's not fair. Stop telling me what's not fair. The words came out harder than I intended, and she flinched. I took a breath, forcing myself back to calm. You don't get to claim unfairness. You don't get to be the victim here. You made choices. You chose to lie. You chose to pursue someone else. You chose to come home today and tell me about your date like it was some casual thing I should just accept. Those were your choices. I was unhappy, she whispered. So was I. I've been watching my wife slip away for months. I've been living with a stranger who wore my wife's face but didn't look at me the same way, didn't touch me the same way, didn't love me the same way. You think I wasn't unhappy? The difference is, I tried. I suggested date nights. I planned that weekend getaway you cancelled. I asked, repeatedly, if everything was okay, if we were okay. I know, she said softly. And you lied every single time. The kitchen fell silent except for the tick of that damn clock. Each second falling away, marking the end of everything we'd built together. She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand, smearing mascara across her cheek. The blue dress that had looked so carefully chosen now seemed like a costume for a play that would never be performed. Her phone buzzed on the table between us. Once, twice, 3 times. We both knew who it was. You should cancel your date, I said, nodding toward the phone. She grabbed it defensively, clutching it to her chest. Maybe I don't want to. Then don't. Go have dinner with David. Enjoy yourself. But understand that the moment you walk out that door to meet him, I'm filing these papers electronically. My attorney is standing by. You'll be served at whatever restaurant you choose, probably during the appetizer course. Her face went white. You wouldn't do that. I absolutely would. Actually, part of me hopes you go. It would make everything so much cleaner. No room for second guessing or worse. I met her eyes. But I thought I'd give you the choice. Stay home, sign the papers, and we do this with whatever dignity we have left. Or go to David, and we do this publicly, messily, with servers and other diners watching you get handed legal documents. The phone buzzed again. She looked down at the screen, and I could see the conflict playing across her face. She'd spent months building up to this moment, fantasizing about stepping into a new life. And now reality was crashing down around her ears. He's waiting for me, she said, but there was no conviction in her voice. I'm sure he is. Probably picked a nice restaurant too. Somewhere romantic, with candles and wine. Did he know you were married? Or did you conveniently forget to mention that detail? She flushed. I told him about us. About how we've grown apart. I'm sure you painted quite the picture. The neglected wife, the distant husband. Let me guess, I work too much? Don't appreciate you? Take you for granted? I shook my head. It's a classic narrative. The wronged spouse, finally finding someone who sees them, values them. It's very compelling. Except it's built on lies. Not everything was a lie, she protested weakly. No. Which parts were true? The part where you promised to love me in sickness and health? The part where you vowed to forsake all others? Or maybe the part where you said you'd communicate, work through problems together? I leaned forward. Because from where I'm sitting, those all turned out to be pretty words with no substance. You're being cruel. I'm being honest. There's a difference. Cruelty would be broadcasting what you've done to everyone we know. Cruelty would be contesting every item in this separation agreement just to make you suffer. Cruelty would be calling David Richardson's boss right now and detailing how he's been having an affair with a married coworker during work hours, in company facilities. Her eyes widened. You have proof of that. Page 37. The investigator was very thorough. Timestamps, locations, photographic evidence. His company has a strict fraternization policy, especially for probationary employees. But I haven't sent anything to them. Yet. This is blackmail, she breathed. No, this is leverage. And yes, I'm willing to use it if you force me to. Sign the papers, agree to a clean separation, and David Richardson's career remains intact. Make this difficult, drag it out, try to take me for everything I'm worth, and I'll make sure everyone knows exactly what kind of man he is, the kind who pursues married women. She was crying again now, harder this time, her shoulders shaking. I never wanted it to be like this. I just wanted. I don't know what I wanted. Yes, you do, I said quietly. You wanted excitement. Romance. The butterflies and uncertainty of something new. You wanted to feel 25 again instead of 39. You wanted someone to see you the way David does, like you're still a possibility instead of a certainty. How do you know all that? Because I've been married to you for 14 years. I know how you think, what you fear, what you desire. The tragic part is, if you'd talk to me about this, really talk to me, we might have worked through it. Marriages get stale. The excitement fades. That's normal. But you don't fix it by finding someone new. You fix it by choosing to fall in love again with the person you already committed to. She looked at me then, really looked at me, and I saw the moment she understood what she'd thrown away. Would you have tried? Really tried? I would have fought like hell for us, I said, and meant it. I would have done whatever it took, counseling, trips, completely changing how we interact. I loved you. Past tense, because I can't love someone who's actively betraying me. But the person you were, the woman I married, I would have torn down mountains for her. What if? She started, then stopped. What if what? What if you sign these papers and we try again later? What if you break things off with David and we pretend this never happened? I shook my head. It doesn't work like that. You can't unring this bell. You can't unfeel what you felt for him or undo what you've done. And I can't unknow what I know or unfeel this betrayal. So that's it. 14 years, just over. 14 years were over the moment you decided another man was worth lying for. I pushed the folder back toward her. This is just making it official. Her phone buzzed yet again. She looked down at it, and I could see the message preview. Where are you? I'm at the restaurant. He's waiting, I observed. You should give him an answer. She stared at the phone for a long moment, then at the folder, then at me. If I sign this, do I have to move out tonight? No. You have 2 weeks, like I said. But you sleep in the guest room starting now. And we maintain separate lives under the same roof until you find a place. What about David? What about him? You're about to be a separated woman. What you do with your personal life is your business. Just don't bring him to this house. And don't expect me to subsidize your relationship with him. She picked up her phone and typed something quickly. I watched her hands shake as she hit send. Then she set the phone face down on the table and reached for the folder. "Do you have a pen?" she asked, her voice hollow. I pulled one from my pocket. I'd been carrying it all day, waiting for this moment. I slid it across the table. She opened the folder to the signature page, reading the words one final time. "This really is it, isn't it?" "Yes," I said simply. "This really is it." She signed her name on the line, each letter drawn slowly, deliberately, as if hoping that by taking her time, reality might somehow shift and offer her a different outcome. It didn't. When she finished, she set the pen down and pushed the folder back to me. "There," she said. "Are you happy now?" "Happy." I picked up the folder, checking that she'd signed and initialed in all the right places. "No, I'm not happy. I'm relieved. There's a difference." I pulled out my phone and took photos of each signed page, then forwarded them to my attorney with a brief message, "Executed. Please file in the morning." His response came within seconds. "Received. We'll process first thing." She watched me do all this with a numb expression, as if she were floating somewhere above the scene, watching two strangers dismantle a life. "What happens now?" "Now." I closed the folder and stood up. "Now I'm going to put these in the safe. You're going to go upstairs and change out of that dress. And tomorrow, we both start figuring out what our separate lives look like." Just like that. Just like that. She didn't move from the chair. I texted David. Told him I couldn't make it tonight. That something came up. "Something certainly did," I said dryly. "He's going to ask questions." "Then tell him the truth. Tell him you're separated from your husband and starting divorce proceedings. That's what you wanted, isn't it? To be free to pursue this thing with him." She shook her head slowly. "I don't know what I wanted. I just knew I felt alive when I was with him. Like I mattered. Like I was more than just someone's wife who does laundry and meal planning and makes sure the bills get paid." "You were never just anything," I said, "and despite everything, I meant it. You chose to reduce your hours at work. You chose to take on more of the household management. I never asked you to shrink yourself. If you were unhappy with that arrangement, you should have said something. I tried to tell you." "No," I interrupted firmly. "You dropped hints. You made passive-aggressive comments. You sighed dramatically when I worked late. But you never sat me down and said, 'I'm unhappy. I need things to change.' You never gave me a real chance to fix what was broken. Would it have mattered?" Her voice was bitter. "Would you have actually changed, or just promised to and then gone right back to how things were? I guess we'll never know now, will we?" She finally stood up, smoothing down her dress in a gesture that was pure habit. "I'll start looking for apartments tomorrow." "That would be wise. Can I take some furniture? Or do I have to sleep on the floor for 2 weeks?" "Take whatever's listed in the agreement. Everything else stays. If there's something specific you want that's not listed, we can discuss it. Rationally. Without drama." She laughed, a sound without humor. "You've thought of everything, haven't you? Every detail, every possibility." "I had 3 months and 4 days, I reminded her. "That's a lot of time to think." She started toward the stairs, then paused. "Do you hate me?" The question hung in the air between us. I considered it carefully, examining my feelings the way I'd examined every clause in that separation agreement. "No," I said finally. "I don't hate you. Hate requires passion, and I don't feel passionate about you anymore. I feel tired, and sad, and done." Something flickered across her face, hurt, maybe, or recognition. "That's almost worse than hate." "Probably," I agreed. She climbed the stairs slowly, each step heavy with the weight of everything we'd just destroyed. I watched until she disappeared into the hallway, then I carried the folder to my study and locked it in the safe. The photos on my phone would be enough for my attorney to proceed, but I wanted the physical copy secured. My phone buzzed. A text from my attorney, "You okay?" I typed back, "Will be." Another buzz, this time from my best friend, "Still on for lunch tomorrow?" "Absolutely," I replied. "I'll fill you in then." I walked through the house, turning off lights, locking doors, following the same routine I'd followed for 14 years. Except tonight, everything was different. Tonight, I was sleeping in my own bed while my wife, my soon-to-be ex-wife, was in the guest room down the hall. Tonight, the house felt both exactly the same and completely foreign. In the bedroom, I changed into sweatpants and a t-shirt, then sat on the edge of the bed. The photos on the dresser caught my eye, our wedding day, vacations, holidays. 14 years of smiling faces and happy moments that now felt like evidence from someone else's life. I should take them down, I thought. Pack them away. But I left them for now. There would be time for that later. My phone buzzed again. Against my better judgment, I looked. It was from her. "I'm sorry. For what it's worth, I really am sorry." I stared at the message for a long time. Part of me wanted to ignore it, to let the silence speak for itself. But another part, the part that had loved her, that still remembered why I'd married her in the first place, needed to respond. "I know," I typed back. "But sorry doesn't fix this. Nothing can fix this." 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Finally, "I know." I set the phone on the nightstand and lay back on the bed, staring at the ceiling. Tomorrow, the paperwork would be filed. The legal machinery would grind into motion. Friends would have to be told. Family would ask questions. Work colleagues would notice that I'd stopped wearing my ring. But tonight, I'd done what I needed to do. I'd protected myself. I'd taken control of a situation that had been spiraling for months. I'd refused to be the victim in my own story. It didn't feel like victory. It felt like survival. Downstairs, I heard the front door open and close quietly. I moved to the window and looked down. My wife was standing in the driveway in jeans and a sweater, her phone pressed to her ear. Even from here, I could see her shoulders shaking. She was crying, talking to someone, David, probably, explaining why she'd cancelled. Maybe even explaining that she'd signed separation papers. I watched for a moment, then stepped back from the window. Her conversation wasn't my business anymore. Her tears weren't mine to comfort. Her choices had led her outside in the cold, seeking solace from someone who wasn't her husband. I climbed into bed and pulled up the blankets. The house settled around me with its familiar creaks and sighs. Somewhere down the hall, a door closed. The water ran briefly. Then silence. This was my life now. Separate. Divided. Mine. And tomorrow, I would wake up and take the first real step toward whatever came next. Not with her. Not for her. Just forward. The clock on the nightstand glowed 11:47 p.m. In 13 minutes, it would be a new day. In a way, it already was. I closed my eyes and, eventually, slept.